Hello and welcome to Demian Allen's Astrology and Tarot channel. If you do like the video, then please press the like button. And if you want to subscribe, please subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate it. Okay, let's look at December 2021 and what we can expect in terms of the planetary activity, what planets are going to be the main players, what are the key dates to look out for, what are the good stuff that we need to take in. And boy, do we all need it. So what I do is I start off with December the 1st, 2021 GMT time in UK, midday. So I look at the chart and then I'll look forward for the key dates to look out for. This month is it's a strange one. We've had a couple of strange months, October and November. This one's again a strange one. Lots of planetary activity that's taking place, lots of difficulty that we've got to get over, and quite intense again, and it kind of encapsulates, I would say, what we've experienced over this year 2021, and it sort of brings it all together and externalizes the sort of chaos that we now live through, don't we? Okay, so we start off obviously with the sun at 9 degrees in Sagittarius. The sun is in Sagittarius. The ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter. Jupiter is in Aquarius at 25 degrees moving forward. And the first thing that we look out for is Mars. Mars, as I said, over the last couple of months has not been in particularly good condition. It's in its traditional rulership in November in Scorpio, but the first half of November it was kind of attacked really by other planets that made it impossible for Mars to do what it needs to do, which is to be action orientated to get things done. It's at 21 degrees in Scorpio at the beginning of the month, and that forms a square aspect with, of course, Jupiter, which is at 25 degrees in Aquarius. False promises being made at this time. Jupiter magnifies everything that it kind of touches, any other planet. Mars is an action-orientated, aggressive planet that's direct, wants to get things done, sometimes a little bit unpredictable, sometimes quite turbulent. I call this the Santa Claus effect. Jupiter's promising movement, it's promising things will change, but it's full of hot air. And when Mars and Jupiter tend to get together, it creates this sort of turbulence that we all kind of feel, and decisions being made without foresight or looking ahead at the implications of those decisions and quite how they're going to be managed. So it's very short term with those two getting together in the sky. The other big news for this is going to be Venus. Venus is in Capricorn. It starts off at 20 degrees in Capricorn, the last decan of Capricorn, and it's heading towards making a conjunction by 5 degrees to Pluto, and of course it's going to go retrograde. The big degree to look out for is 11 degrees Capricorn, because that's when the shadow period started of this Venus retrograde, which would have been around about the 17th of November. And when it goes back to 11 degrees in Capricorn, which will be right towards the end of January, that's when we're kind of out of this sort of Venus retrograde energy. So it actually goes retrograde really kind of on the 19th of December, but because it's in a shadow period and because it's hitting Pluto, we'll feel it already. I never think that Venus retrogrades are as difficult as Mercury or Mars, unless you're in a Venus perfected year. Then you might be in a period where you feel a bit tricky. However, I would say at this particular aspect, Venus is about how we relate to other people, the social etiquette, how we socialize, how we emotionally connect. And this usually happens as social activities, get-togethers, parties, being in restaurants, going to art galleries, going to gigs, go to the places that we naturally conjugate and get together and get to express ourselves, and it being retrograde in Capricorn, which is quite traditional, quite structured, ruled by Saturn, and making and applying conjunction with Pluto. And these two are going to be playing it out for the rest of the month. These two are going to be getting together, Pluto and Venus, which is kind of like these two planets. It's very intense. However, it would be restrictions, or maybe social distancing, more restrictions of get-togethers being implemented during this particular time, or talked about as we lead up to the holiday period. So it's very, very difficult, actually, this. Also in the UK chart, this is gonna hit the 10th house. So that's all public figures. There's a lot to do with royalty as well, and all that kind of stuff in the UK. So that's quite tricky. And in the USA chart, this is all second house. This is all financial aspects that's being hit upon here. So that's really going to kind of play out. We also start off with the moon in Scorpio. So I always like to start off where the moon starts in a month, because it gives an indication of maybe the intensity and where it obviously ends. So it's moon in Scorpio, which obviously over that 2 days is going to oppose Uranus, which is placed going retrograde in Taurus. We've also got retrograde of Neptune at 20 degrees in Pisces. Saturn is moving forward quite quickly now, with Jupiter in Aquarius at 9 degrees. We've got Mercury in Sagittarius at the start at 10 degrees. That's in detriment. It's not particularly nice combination. Mercury can't really do much. It sort of scatters itself, really, more than anything. Nothing concrete comes out of that. And then we've got the nodes at 1 degrees between Gemini and Sagittarius, coming to the end before it will go into next in January, Taurus and Scorpio. So there's a lot playing out here. Now, the big aspect, of course, is what's going to happen on the 4th of December, which is the solar eclipse. So we had a partial lunar eclipse on the 19th of November. That was at 27 degrees in Taurus. Now it's going to be at 12 degrees in Sagittarius. So it's a new moon. It's a solar eclipse. So the sun and the moon are going to be at 12 degrees in the morning of in the UK of December the 4th. Really kind of interesting. Solar eclipses last 6 months. So what you get with an eclipse is you get sometimes it's really, you get it full on that day, but usually it's a 6-month basis. So a good example to look at basically in the sort of political arena is the lunar eclipse that we recently had at 27 degrees in Taurus. Was exactly opposing Joe Biden's 27 degrees sun in Scorpio when he was born. So over the next 6 months, see that play out, and predominantly it's a lot about endings and things coming to an end. Lunar eclipses, solar eclipses tend to be like new moon energy, things happening or beginning or starting up again, or illuminating new cycle coming in with this. This is Sagittarius this is in, so the symbolism is very much about having a vision for the future, where we're going. It's going to hit the USA chart particularly because it hits their first house. You know, here for us it's going to be travel and education side of things and our own kind of vision for the future. So it's kind of an interesting one, but there is something scupper in it, if I can use that word, which is Mercury in Sagittarius, which is closely aligned at 12 degrees at the 15 degrees. So it's separating conjunction here, and it's applying a square aspect by 5 degrees to Neptune in Pisces. So that's smoke and mirrors, that's nebulous, that's evasive, that's the media, that's the way that things are reported, not clear at this particular point. So this is a difficult energy to actually deal with. So this solar eclipse is a little bit something shrouded in mystery that might come up to the surface a little bit here to do with the media or how people communicate. But I feel like a lot of the focus is going to be USA actually this time, not so much the UK. And I also feel it's a bit about overseas travel as well, because it's the Sagittarius themes that are coming out here. Or maybe there's something that's launched that can help overseas travel a little bit more. But certainly, yeah, or education certainly is another. And education is higher education, university education, stuff like that coming up. So the 4th of December is absolutely key here. But as we get past the 4th of December, because everyone goes about the eclipse, and rightly so. And if you're born between the 1st of June and the 5th of June, the 1st of August and the 5th of August, the 1st of December and the 5th of December, and the 1st of March and the 5th of March, you're going to be hit quite a lot by this eclipse energy. You know, it's either going to be conjoining or squaring or opposing your sun or planets around that particular point in your natal chart. There's quite a lot going on there. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Look out for these dates: the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th of December. Key dates here. And the reason why is key dates is because that Mars, which is at 25 degrees in Scorpio, is 1 degree applying a square aspect to Jupiter at 26 degrees. We also got Saturn and Uranus forming that, start to really get that tense aspect between them, or that square aspect that's occurring here. But also on the 7th, again, Mercury at 20 degrees in Sagittarius, pretty much exact the square aspect to Neptune at 20 degrees. I feel this is the most difficult key dates here, the 7th, the 8th, and 9th of December. I really do. We've got also on the 7th, the moon just goes into Aquarius, and the moon represents the people generally. And also you've got Venus. Venus is 2 degrees away from Pluto, making a conjunction. 2 degrees. Remember, it's going to go retrograde around about the 19th. So again, that intensity is really coming up to the surface here. This feels very haphazard, would be a good word. False promises, not necessarily looking at the details, or political figures not looking at the details. Destabilizing. Also, the sun is also applying a square to Neptune. Not easy times. We just bring this forward a little bit more. So this is the 9th. We can see that 27 degrees Mars in Scorpio. That's important. Reason is important because it hits the opposition of the lunar eclipse that we had on the 19th of November. And eclipses are the kind of moments, sort of real moments in time. Everything in astrology is moments in time, but this is exaggerated or magnified. And so I feel like that's at 9th is important as to the period of around about the 19th and things that happened in the news at that time period, you know, to do with financial aspects coming back up to the surface on the 9th because of that Mars reaching that 27 degrees. 27 degrees are Taurus, which the lunar eclipse is on. It was hitting the fixed star of Algol, which is kind of losing one's head, or somebody losing one's head, metaphorically speaking. And this is the opposition to that, which the Mars at 27 degrees in Scorpio. Very interesting. Those are really kind of key dates here. And you can see that the Venus is also applying to Pluto. Venus is in detriment in Scorpio, which is the ruler of Taurus, and Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio. I just that feels very, very tricky at that particular time. The 9th is a key date, and of course Mercury is still fully in Sagittarius, although it's slightly coming to it's about 7 degrees before it goes into Capricorn, which will stabilize things quite a bit. I just want to go forward here to the 13th. The reason the 13th of December, that Mars is in Sagittarius. Mars in Sagittarius is a little bit sort of spread itself too thin, too many ideas, makes it a bit lighter, certainly, and it's no longer in a square aspect, as far as I'm concerned, with Jupiter. So that sort of magnification that we're going to be experiencing in the early part of December is less so. Look out for this, though. This is the 13th of December. Saturn is at 10 degrees. Move to 10 degrees in Aquarius. Uranus is at 11 degrees going backwards in Taurus. So the square aspect is really it's fully there now, you know. It's always when it reaches that 11 degrees, it can get a little bit, well, we know where we all are. It's the tenseness, it's the build-up that's the most difficult issue here. And what else have we got? We've got the square between the Sun and Neptune on a day, and Mercury's at critical degree at 29 degrees in Sagittarius, so it's about to move into Capricorn. When it moves into Capricorn, it will stabilize things, a bit more serious, a bit more gravitas to ideas. That's going to really help, because I think that the Mercury in Sagittarius is kind of like a wanderer. Hermes is just wandering around casting aspersions. It's not a particularly good, it doesn't get things done, whereas in Mercury it's more solid, it's in an earth sign, it can get things done. It's a bit more serious, almost a bit kind of downbeat, Mercury in Capricorn from a collective point of view as well. But here's the big news, that Venus and Pluto are conjoining at 25 degrees, are in conjunction with each other on that day, so the intensity of those two really begins to play out. So look out for that day here as a key aspect of what's going on, and the intensity. A few of you've got Capricorn and Cancer in your chart around about that 22 to 27 degrees. You're going to really feel that Venus conjoining with Pluto. And of course, what Venus is going to do is it's now slowing down before it starts to go backwards in the sky on the 19th. Here, so this is the December the 17th, so it's hanging out 26 degrees, Venus is. We've got that square very tight between Saturn and Uranus here, and also Mars has been going over the South Node in Sagittarius, which again, over that period of the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th would indicate maybe things about long distance travel, problems around that at this time, just before the Christmas period, maybe restrictions come in because it hits the South Node. And then we've got Mercury at 5 degrees in Capricorn, which is applied a square to Chiron in Aries, which is going backwards. So where's the wound, the collective wounds that we're talking about? Well, it's within pandemic and all that kind of that we've experienced over the last 2 years, that coming back up of the financial implications of that. Okay, so you can see that there's a lot going on here, a lot playing out. But to me, it gives a flavor of the year, really. It kind of ends it into where we've been here. This is the 19th. Venus is retrograde now at 26 degrees, hovering around that Pluto. Mercury is squaring Chiron by 1 degree. You know, and Jupiter's just hovering at 28 degrees before it's going to move into Pisces, which I think is the good news. That's Santa Claus really coming to town, actually. But what I want to look at here is obviously Christmas Day. The build-up is difficult. The build-up is difficult, I think, to Christmas because of the square aspect, which is going to be 11 degrees between Saturn and Uranus. What I find is that when you get big aspects like happen exact at holiday periods like Christmas, like Easter, it's not as dramatic as it's made out. It's almost like it's more of a mental attitude that comes about here rather than the actual externalized rebellion against tradition that you would assume from those two planets being in square aspect, which we've had throughout the year. I just feel like there's a kind of a mind shift that's taking place collectively around that because it happens on the holidays. So people have put things to plan. It's not as erratic, the energy. So that's what I feel. It's quieting down. So I don't think it's going to be as dramatic as maybe you might think. But again, on Christmas Day, the Venus is at 25 degrees in Capricorn, so's Pluto at 25 degrees, so you've got that conjunction really tight there. And just there is that Jupiter just hanging around at 29 degrees, critical degrees. Of Aquarius, what does it amplify? It amplifies this year, really, and where we've been. So I think it's going to be a bit of a Christmas that's going to be very humble, actually, from most of us, a kind of humble experience, you know, before we look ahead to the new year. You've got Mars in Sagittarius, as well, being quite gung-ho, you know, and that's forming an inconjunct with Uranus. And we've got a stellium of planets in, of course, Capricorn, the Sun, Mercury, Pluto, and Venus. So all that traditional values come to the forefront, which you get every year. We have the winter solstice on the 21st of December when the Sun enters into Capricorn here, which puts again that stability around that. The winter solstice in the northern hemisphere is a celebration of the sun. You know, picking up pace in the sky, and therefore it's a celebration. And it's very trying to bring in stability at that particular time, or in the northern hemisphere, we're entering into the winter period. So it's about survival. It's about getting through that particular period here. Okay, so here's where I kind of think it does change the landscape here, which I would sort of say on the 29th, because Jupiter goes into Pisces. It was there in 2021 in May and June. It briefly went in there and then just started to go backwards and then back into Aquarius. And for the next 4 or 5 months, Jupiter in Pisces, it's in its rulership, traditional rulership. If you're in a Jupiter perfected year, this is great. You'll really feel this energy kind of moving forward. I think it's about breaking boundaries, being more compassionate, charitable, empathetic. It's a nice combination. It's an optimistic towards the end of this year. I think it gives an optimistic tune, whereas, you know, we haven't had that. There's something about here about breaking boundaries, about looking beyond, about caring. So I think that's going to be a bit of a savior in all this, because we've got the heavy dose of Capricorn energy, and of course that Venus retrograde in Pluto, and we kind of end it on the 31st with a real sense, I think, a little bit of optimism here that's going to come about. And the square aspect between Saturn and Uranus is 1 degree apart. So it's still very, very tense. So yeah, you could expect demonstrations and stuff like that under that. But I just get the sense with this Jupiter, it's going to move things kind of forward, or the vision is going to come out of this. And remember, halfway through 2022, Jupiter goes into Aries, which is the conqueror. So that becomes the vision, is go out there and get it. Whereas whether it's in Jupiter and Pisces, is about forming it and looking to other people and support from other people to bring that, to manifest the idea. So it's kind of an important aspect there as well. Pluto's really holding everything to account. You know, it's conjoining with Mercury, with Venus. So Pluto's back in. We've been in Pluto land. Pluto seems to really come back in that winter period in the Northern Hemisphere. And it's certainly doing this time at the end of December. It's tricky waters, astrological waters that we're all getting through, but we will get through it. Of course we will. And I'm optimistic about that Jupiter in Pisces. And, you know, for all of you watching, you know, I wish you a happy Christmas and a prosperous new year. I shall be back at the end of December for January 2022. I've nearly been doing these videos for a year, and I enjoy doing them. And please subscribe and press the like button. But until next year, really, I will see you then, and just surf the waves, surf the planetary waves. Thanks for watching.